The kids have summer break from school, which means I get to do work on stuff at a different location. We drove my wife's car all the way here, which means I don't have a truck to move stuff around with, but that thing can haul a trailer great. So I gotta be able to do stuff around here, and I need to plan ahead for hauling a load of stuff back, because I've got some stuff I want to bring with me. You guys have seen this yard trailer before. I've used it to haul stuff around. I have a spare half-track on it. So I'm going to see if this yard trailer can make it 2,500 miles. There definitely was grease in here, so that's a good sign. Huh, there's actually real electric trailer brakes on this. Whoever put the seal in did a good job of mangling it. So I don't think these were installed with a lot of care, but everything does look pretty recent. It really doesn't look that bad. Drum's a little oily, but I'm not planning on using the brakes anyway, so I'll just ignore that. Now this trailer has 2 tires on it that hold air, but there's a little bit of age cracking on these. It's subtle, but you might be able to tell. And they're on split rims. It's not going to be easy to find any tire place that'll put new tires on these rims. But that pattern looks real familiar. And I've got old Jeep rims, so I'll get some new tires put on those. I notice this hub has an indexing pin, and there's rivet heads every other space. We got to make sure our wheels will fit that. The original wheels had the lug bolt holes and then another hole every other one on these raised sections. Now the Jeep rim has those raised sections to clear the rivets, but no hole to index it. So we're just going to add a hole. I'm just going to copy the location and scribe a mark in. That looks pretty close. Somewhere in that ballpark. I'll make the hole extra big so I know it works. Looks like it fits fine. I looked up the part numbers on these bearings. The results I kept coming up with were things that said like obsolete and replace entire hub. The bearings clean up fine. I don't see any pitting or any issues. So I think it's okay to reuse those. The races look good too. All I have to do is clean all this up, repack the bearings, put a couple new seals in. I think we'll be good. And of course this part number didn't come up either. Oil seals aren't nearly as precise as bearings. So if we can get one that fits, we're probably okay. All I could find was vernier calipers. Gotta remember how to read the vernier scale. You have lines on the inside, you have another set of lines here. They're spaced different than each other, so you have to line up which one matches best. Simple and reliable, and they don't really need to be calibrated or anything. They actually work real well. I went by size, and I found one seal. And by one seal, I mean not one part number. I found one. There was one old stock seal, the right size. So we'll put that in and see. I already got my inner bearing packed, made a good mess of it as usual. Looks about right. I always grease the race too. I just pretty much put grease on everything. I think the bearings in this trailer are probably fine, but it worries me if something does go wrong, I can't get the parts to fix it. And when you're going across the country, that's a concern. And I don't like worrying the entire drive. I'm not taking this trailer with me. I got to come up with a different plan. Even though I'm not taking this across the country, it's been really handy moving things like these super heavy-duty car ramps. These are going to be perfect for working on the mast on that 4x forklift. And now I've seen the bearings, I have no problem taking this on local trips. So it's still useful. This is handy for retrieving old tractors too. This tractor will be in a different video. I just found something in the woods here. Not 100% sure what it is, but I have a guess. So I hooked a chain to it, I'm going to drag it out and we'll see what it is. The part I saw was an old 50s Ford pickup bed, but I was pretty sure it was a trailer, and it is. After dragging this thing out of the woods, I can see that it's pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to do a quick once-over. First I'm going to tackle the low air pressure problem in the tire. These aren't even that rusty. This is going great. There might be a few leaks in this tire. Probably will have to do something about this one before I put it on the road. The other trailer tire is held there, so we'll just slide. We'll slide this under here. We'll kind of shove it. Maybe I should just jack it up a little more. There we go. Same bolt pattern. That's handy. 5 on 5.5 used to be pretty standard in like everything. Military vehicles, Dodge, Ford, Jeep. Sounds great. Those brakes will fix themselves. Even though this trailer looks pretty good as is, I've got my family with me, and I found that my wife is happier when we tow something that doesn't look like we just struck oil and need to move to Beverly. I think she's used that exact phrasing before. I'm going to do a little sprucing up so the rest of the world thinks that this is a nice trailer too. Got a little bit of shoveling to do here. This has been out there for a while. That's a big piece. Alrighty. Ooh, there's some rust holes. We've got some good ventilation there, some nice drainage holes the whole way, and a little more over there too. This one I might have to pay attention to. And by that I mean just don't load anything right there. I'm not going to fix it or anything. Won't worry about any water building up in this one. I decided to go all out in this project. We're going to prep it for paint. There, that side's all ready. Even going to do a little bit of masking here. There doesn't appear to be a screw head on this one anymore, so we'll go with a universal wrench. There we go. Masking done. Now the trailer's completely prepped, I can put on my final coat. And this will hold all the loose stuff and rust I didn't get off with the washing. We'll just encapsulate it with a nice protective layer. Just saw I need to do a little bit of body work here. Yeah, that seems pretty solid. We'll just paint over that. Paint will take out the dent. At least cover it up. Kind of like that dark green with a lighter green rim. That looks pretty good, in my opinion. Better than before. Paint job's all done. It's all one color, pretty much. Mostly one color. If you give it a little distance to get the perspective better, make sure it blends in with the background, it doesn't look as bad as it used to. I like the look of the dark green trailer with a light green rim, so we're going to go with a Laurel Green. Never tried this color before. I didn't think I needed to turn on a camera for popping off a hubcap, but wow, that just all went flying out of there. Apparently, the mice are not going to be happy with me now. Let's try to find some lug nuts in there. Wonder how rusty these are going to be. Oh, there we go. Alright, we're moving, making progress. This is another case where you should be really glad that YouTube doesn't have smell-o-vision. There is a mouse stench to this. Found a clearance sale in Walmart. Got some 225s Load Range E for, I think it was 60-something bucks a piece. It cost almost as much to have them mounted. If you guys live in New England, I feel bad for you. The price of mounting and tire disposal here is triple what it is in New Mexico. I was a little shocked at that, but it's got fresh rubber, and with as cheap as these tires were, the overall cost still wasn't too bad. And they're brand new. This is an old boat trailer, which was functional, but has a little bit of an issue right here. The patch panel is made out of basically tin foil to cover up something right there, but that's now cracking too. We're going to take a look at what's under there. This whole thing's held together with self-drilling screws. By the lack of rust, they might be stainless. That's a good score. If nothing else, this trailer is already providing useful stuff. Let's see how bad it is. Could be worse, but that is a significant chunk of trailer that's kind of not strong. There's some other issues with this trailer. That's the original spring mount, which rusted away. So someone welded on another one, which is rusting away. Those are a little bit rusty too. I think I could definitely call this a parts trailer. Let's start stealing stuff off it. Now these lights are working. They're a little bit broken, but working. So I'm going to grab those. This end connector didn't want to play nice. I got the rest of it out fine. There should be plenty of wire to work with. Oh, a little hot, but it came off. Ah, the quick way. Got some safety chains. Got a spare tire carrier. Nice galvanized one too. Looked like a mouse was inside this taillight area and ate through the wire. Not only were the wires mouse eaten, the socket doesn't fit a bulb anymore. The spring inside doesn't compress, it's all jammed up. So I'm gonna have to do something else here. Now, I salvaged these lights off that boat trailer and they're pretty close to the same size. Let's see what we can do with one of these. I took the broken one apart and this is what's inside it. And this will fit inside the forward opening. So we're getting somewhere here. Didn't realize the LEDs are red already. These original taillight housings were put together with a screw holding them into the truck bed, and then another screw that held the lens on. I want to make sure I can put that original lens back on. So I was looking at the brackets that hold this whole thing in. There's two holes in them. That's where the inner housing screwed on, and that's a clearance hole for the lens screw, which means that's in the right spot for the lens. So I took a long bolt, bolted it in here, and left a bunch sticking out, so I have a stud in place now. Got my light wired up and in there. Now, put the lens on. Now, if I wanted to make this look really professional, I could trim those off flush so I don't have different lengths sticking out. So I'm done here. And there we go. We got lights. I'm pretty happy with that. With a stock lens on there, you can't really tell it's an LED style light. It looks pretty factory. So I think that was a good use of a broken taillight. That spare tire carrier is a different bolt pattern. So I got to do something else for my fancy spare. I found a long carriage bolt and the threads were only slightly mangled. And I found a die that matched it. So we're gonna have a spare tire carrier in no time. The carriage bolt's a little too long. I'll take care of that with a few hexagon spacers. I even found a 1/2-13 wing nut to put the whole thing together with. Perfect. I made my first run with this trailer and it made it. But this rear end is making some funny noises, particularly when I take off from a stop. I'm not at home right now. I discovered this problem while I was trying to do a job. I need to clean that entire pile of yard waste and load it into this trailer. I want to get a look at that pinion. Appears we have a little bit of leaking. That's definitely not a good sign. Have some pinion issues here. I don't have the right size socket, but I'm doing one adjustable wrench across the top, another one turning it. Luckily this isn't very tight, because this is actually working. I'm not sure why, but the entire nut is mangled and folded over. Maybe it never got tight. Definitely have some extra room to go on these splines. Now we gotta figure out what oil seal that is. And that is no good anymore. I gotta take care of this nut that's completely mushroomed over without my usual tools. Went to Walmart, got myself a rotary tool with an accessory set so I can grind away all that excess material. Problem is, this was missing stuff. The actual tool. That's all I got. Someone opened this box up in the store, stole this part, and all I have is the accessories. But I do have a cordless drill, so let's see what we can do here. There's a bolt that's sticking out in this trailer. I'm going to use that to try to hold it in place because I don't have a vise. Oh, yeah, that's not going to do it. I found a bolt with a nut and clamped it on there. Now I'm getting somewhere. I made the top of that nut into something resembling Swiss cheese. Hopefully now it'll be easier to cut. That didn't work at all, so I'm going to do is go with a bigger drill bit and just try to drill the holes bigger. We'll just keep taking material off this thing. Oh, there's a chunk right there. Making progress. Can just take these tabs that are left and pull them right off. So basically I took a nut that had a mangled mess on the end and just made a different mangled mess. But this one looks like I might be able to get the threads through it. So we'll just refer to anything else as a self-locking feature. Oil seal a couple miles away, so that's in. Now let's put this thing back together. When I was at the parts store, I got the socket to put that nut on because I figured that adjustable wrench trick is not going to work for putting it on. Weirdly, it's a die-hard socket. Thought they were battery people. Well, the nut's working. Got a little hard to turn when I hit this mangled section, but it's definitely going on. The nut is on way further. The yoke is on way further. Looks like we're in good shape. Just need to top off the gear oil. We should be back in business here. Hopefully I have enough. Yeah, it'll be more than it had, so it'll be enough. I bought 2 quarts of gear oil and feel it on my finger. That's good enough. We're in good shape. Now the trailer rolls freely and no clunking sound from the pinion. I think we'll call this fixed. Now, back to what I was supposed to be doing in the first place. This trailer has been real handy and it didn't cost a whole lot of money. Most expensive thing was the tires. Can't really get around tires too easily. And I always enjoy putting something that was abandoned in the woods back to use and on the road again. And this is a good way to recycle something. Here's something you'll see in a future video. It needs some work, it's got quite a few issues, but it was cheap, so that's the important thing. This trailer even has a convenient place to haul outboards. You can clamp them right on, and there's plenty of depth for even a long shaft. This thing is super handy. I found a replacement for that rusted out boat trailer. There was another trailer out in the woods that was less rusty. Well, mostly. The bearings were full of rust. So now we're doing wheel bearings. Seems like I spent a lot of time doing wheel bearings. I went to put in the brand new races. They don't stay. This hub had the race spin inside it, so the hub is all worn out. So even though I have new bearings, I can't hold them in. Which means we got to come up with another solution. Or another hub. Luckily, there's a few old boat trailers out here. Hopefully, I can scavenge a good hub from one. I think we can get a spare tire with this too. Yep, I think that's what I need, the 3,500 pound axle with the big diameter inside. This should do. Wonder if the bearings are already good. Nope, I see rust. Oh well. Back together, and no grinding when it rolls. I think we're in good shape. Just need to do something about the tire. Now all I have to do is put on my new tire. Then taking off my old one, I broke 2 of the studs. So now I got to replace wheel studs. Luckily I got spares in that bad hub. We put a nut on the least rusty one we can see, and a socket bigger than the head on the back side. Now we crank down on the vise to try to press that stud out. And of course the vise isn't strong enough. So we give the vise a little boost. A little more turning. A little more boosting. There we go. Just pop free. Well, free enough. Now we got the stud we need for the other one. Pretty rusty in the middle though. New studs would be a really good idea, but I don't have any. The nearest parts store is about a half-hour away. So we're doing this. The boat trailer worked fine. Hub stayed nice and cool. Got my boat out. That tire that was on the hub already, it's held air for several days. So this is great for a spare. And it's the right bolt pattern. I can repurpose that spare tire carrier I pulled off the other trailer. So this all worked out great. That's the end of the video. I dragged 3 trailers out of the woods and got all 3 of them roadworthy. So I'm going to consider that a win. Possibly even a triple win. The only problem I ran into is while I was working on all that stuff, I started collecting things to bring home. And I had so much fun collecting stuff, I've got more to bring home than will fit in any of those trailers. So now I got to look into my trailer rental options. Hope you guys are having fun too, and we'll see you next time. Here's a project I didn't think was going to be a project. My little old Yamaha outboard was overheating, but still pumping water fine. The cooling passages are just a little bit clogged. Got a lot of junk out. Got a cooling passage again. Found a screw I didn't even know was there. Making a lot of progress here. I got the head gasket off the head. There's going to be a little cleaning to do here too. Now the lower drive unit of the outboard where the gearbox is also where the water pump is. Water goes in the intake screen on the bottom, in this case right above the prop. And inside this housing there's a little rubber impeller driven by the engine shaft, and spinning that makes water pump out that hole right there. Then the water goes from the lower unit upwards into this tube right here. And let's see where it comes out. There it goes. So it comes out the bottom of the cylinder there. Let's let that all drain away so I don't actually fill my cylinders. It should freely flow around the cylinders themselves all over the place here. So that would come out here on the head, where it circulates all through the head, and it goes out here where the thermostat is. Then comes through the thermostat, goes into that hole, through this small passage, and down here. And then it goes out that little hole right there. So I got to make sure that one's clear too.